Hey guys, it's day 10, Tribe of 20, WUKAR 90. So, bad news first is that it's day 10 out of 90 days. That's like, 1/9 of the entire, it's more than 10, it's like 11, I think it's almost exactly 11% of this thing is done. And I am probably less than 1% of the way towards my goals. And I'm a little unsure on that because I'm actually going to be redoing my goals here tomorrow. And that's because, you guys all know that one of my best friends, Jeremy Henderson, that was at the event with us, when we partnered up to start Manhattan, we had a different set of circumstances, and he's been presented with like amazing, really, it's really like the opportunity of his dreams, and it happened right in the middle as we're starting all this stuff. And so him and I have decided that we're going to run our own independent businesses, and what it's going to do, and this works on both sides. Like he's literally like, he's one of my oldest internet marketing and best friends. Like I'll always like do anything for him and give, anything to help him succeed. So we're going to continue to be, partners at some level. But as far as specific sites and businesses, I know we're going to be sharing some resources and things. But as far as like setting goals and not goals, setting targets and going after, the different business things, we're going to be independent around that and kind of do things on our own. And so, and we had, long, I guess I was going to say long talks. It turned into long emails over the past couple days because we just weren't able to connect. The times that he was free, I ended up having crazy random stuff. So I am going to be redoing my targets because a huge asset in my business being Jeremy, that he's changing around things in his life, and it has had some really cool opportunities come up. And so he's still in this thing, but he's all, like, we're just going to kind of figure things out independently as far as targets and all that kind of stuff goes. And so, and part of this, I'll share with you guys this as well, is that I had planned to be one of the people paving the road for everybody in the tribe, and I haven't done that yet. And in fact, if anything, I've been one of the biggest boat anchors in the tribe with everything that the decisions I've chose to do so far. And it's just not in my nature. It doesn't feel right. It's not how I work. And this has nothing to do with Jeremy, or almost nothing to do. There was one thing in our business that I'd been waiting on him, but he was also waiting on me for things. So part of him and I were like working out our communications and our spreadsheets and everything else, where I was having him use this tool called Asana, and he had never used it before. So there's all these things, and I've been using it for years now. So we were trying to get on the same page, and so some of that was just communication and organizational stuff, where when we're on our own, we can just rip and crank. Like if he wants to go crazy and form an LLC inside a corporation, inside a sole proprietorship or whatever he wants to do, or I want to do that and he doesn't or whatever, we can go do those things and like crank through them without having to like do all this, all the dual partner stuff. So it is gonna be shortcuts on both sides as far as that goes. But as I create these new plans, I really am going to drive and work hard. And guys, this isn't when I said I plan to pave the road, that's not out of ego or like my old, 10 years ago it would have come from my soccer background and been like, dude, we're all on the same team, but I'm going to kick everybody's ass and be number one up on the stage. And like, that's all like ego stuff. I don't give a crap about that anymore. What I've realized is the way I operate and what's inside of me is I always tend to be in the top percentage somewhere, but it just doesn't feel right that I'm not there. but the feelings are really coming from because I know I'm not giving my 100% in that part of the business. And again, this isn't Jeremy's fault. I take full responsibility for all this because I've made choices on things. Even this whole knee thing, which I actually have new news on that as well. The whole knee thing, I got a crappy attitude yesterday, and it basically took up at least one day of my life was wasted in negative, fearful mindset, painting a false reality that I'm never going to run again and all this other crap stories that I was generating in my mind. So I guess that's a good segue into, I didn't plan to run at all, but I missed swimming lessons with my kids today because I was working on business stuff, and I was going to go swimming today for my workout with them during their lessons, and then we were all going to play. It just didn't work out. They had things with it. We watched one of our neighbor kids and stuff, and so long story short is they were like getting ready to get home, and I was like, I hadn't done anything. I'm like, dude, I have to do a workout every day. What am I going to do? And I'm like, well, shit, I'm just going to go run. So I have always been the kind of person where if you tell me I can't do something, I'm going to go figure out how to do it. And so this whole story I've been telling, well, it's not just telling myself. It's kind of been formed by, stuff that's happened over the past week or so. But so I just went out, I'm like, I'm just going to test this thing out. And I mean, the worst case is that it's going to slip or pop a little bit like it did all randomly throughout the last couple of weeks. But the worst would be like when I was running real hard a week and a half ago, and it's pretty painful, but it's not like it took me out and I collapsed and like limping around or anything. So, and I know each time it does that, it's not good. Any kind of pain is like your body saying, dude, there's something wrong here. So I didn't want to do that, but I was like, that's not that bad. It's like, it's like a bee sting kind of a thing. It goes away pretty fast. So I went out, and I'm just slowly going like up my street and just kind of doing just warm-up stuff, like soccer stuff, not even stuff I'd normally do when I would run. And it hurt like 10 feet from my house. I was like, dude, this is not good. So I just kept going. And I looked at my pace after the first quarter mile, and it was crazy slow. So if any of you guys care about times, my watch said, and the official time was I did 11 minutes and 30-second pace over the quarter mile. So that would be a 1 mile average. So it's really 1/4 of that. But that's like crazy. I don't ever go that slow. I mean, I damn near walk that fast. And so, but I felt like I was running a pace of like 10 minutes per mile or a little less than that. So I was like, dude, this is so messed up. Like my whole perception was just completely out of whack. So I kept going, and like the first mile into it, my paces had gone down to where they would normally be on like what I call slow jog, which would be like 8 minutes, 30 seconds to 9 minutes per mile. And I felt good and everything was cool, and I'm like, hey, and I'm starting to sweat a little bit. I'm like, hey, this is cool, because I wanted to sweat out the toxins and all that stuff. So I'm going around, and so I figure I'm going to do about 4 miles, and somewhere in the second mile I was like, dude, let's see what else my knee can handle. Let's see if I can hurt it, basically, without purposely twisting and like stepping crooked or something. So I picked up the pace, and it did good for a quarter mile. And so I slowed it down again, so I did what's called a fartlek. You just do random stuff like sprints and really slow and like medium pace to fast pace. You're just doing all this random stuff. So within that, I ended up doing a really hard half mile, where the first quarter I did with 6 minutes, 13-second miles, and the second quarter, so a whole half mile of this, the second quarter was a sub 6 minute. It was like 5:55 or 5:50 or something. And those are like really fast for normal. Like I couldn't keep that pace up over many miles. So, and it did totally fine. So I was sitting there like, dude, this is awesome. I do realize if I were to keep doing that, like a more intense workout where I did like 10 of those kind of things, I'm probably going to be feeling something somewhere in there, because it's just all, it's the strength isn't there, the stuff, nothing's there right now because I just recently heard it. But I realized like the whole story that while that wasn't my 100%, that parts of it were pretty, they were good 90% effort. And just realizing that, with supplementation and strength building and all kinds of stuff, who knows what is going to happen. I don't really know what's going to happen in the coming months. So, and then I got home and I just sat on my driveway and I was just in this massive gratitude for like 15 minutes. I've never done this. I think I did this at my old house once or twice ever. And I just got back and I knew dinner was ready, and I knew I had to get on the Automati call pretty soon, and I didn't even care. I just sat there. I wasn't going to miss the call, but I was willing to miss dinner even though I was freaking starving. I was like, you know what, I was listening to music from Derek Henny, so some of his most favorite songs that they were just hitting at the right time, and I was in this massive gratitude. The music was I never even listened to the words on this one song very closely, and I was just listening to the words. I'm like, dude, this is amazing. I'm looking at the house we live in. I'm looking at our car. I'm checking out everything, and I'm just in so much gratitude. I'm like getting chills everywhere right now, and this was hours ago, so I'm reliving it right now. So it was definitely really cool. I also, just through some random connections and some people I know, I have a call scheduled with like one of the best doctors in the history of the world I'm talking to in the morning around my knee stuff. So honestly, guys, that was my intention, is to speak with this specific doctor, and I had a few ways I was going to go about doing it, but I didn't even ask yet, and this was presented to me. Like, dude, call me in the morning, we'll get this doctor on the phone. I was like, I didn't even ask that yet, but I threw out that intention to the universe over the past like 2, 3, 4 days somewhere. So, and I just found that out in the last hour or two. It was totally awesome. So it's really cool how, first of all, how I realized I was in a crap mindset, and how coming out of that, and how throwing out intentions and stuff just happening. It's been awesome. And I just paused because I was like, dude, I'm not saying anything about what we're doing with like Tribe of 20, everything else. This is a part of the journey. Like this is the deepest parts of like there's so many people that you see them share their story and they're like, I make $1 million a month and do this stuff. And you're like, oh my God, I wish I could have your life. But you don't see the shit they went through to get there. And so the reason why I'm making these like longer videos, and I know some of you guys, like some of the people in the tribe or my YouTube channel or wherever, they're not even watching these because they look at it and they're like, oh, it's 10, it's 15 minutes or whatever. That's fine. It's their loss, because they're going to have this kind of shit in front of them, and maybe they won't have a good reference or a story or something. And maybe it's not from me. Maybe something I say triggers another story they knew from somebody else. But just, it's why I'm pouring this extra stuff in, because I just lost a whole day of my life, dude. Like nothing. I got very little done in all parts beyond what's becoming a very foundational regimen of hydration and nutrition and supplementation and sleep and personal development. Like that whole base, guys, has never ever been as consistent as it's been in the last 10 days. And even slightly before that, because I kind of did start this a week or two before. But those week or two, I learned a lot about how inconsistent I even still was, even with that extra focus. So that's another huge thing to celebrate right now. So maybe every 10 days we'll do a little celebration, like a gratitude thing like this is turning into. So one of those other big realizations is that if I look at what I've done in the past 10 days, it's not a lot on the business or the financial side, but it's freaking mountain moving in the other side. I mean, I've almost drank 5 liters of water every single day for 10 days straight. And by measured to the ounce. And I literally measure it to like plus or minus 1 ounce every single time. And I add them up all throughout every day. And every time I drink another 35 ounces, so this is actually 33.8. I count this as 35 because I take away ounces when I drink out of other bottles and stuff. So when this is gone, I'll add 35 to whatever exact number's in there. I don't care what the number is, but that's what I've been doing, and it's so cool to have that foundation of all those things that I've never been consistent with my whole life. The meditation, all the stuff in there. And I'm missing things here and there. So yesterday I missed my first day of flossing in all 10 days. Dude, that's, for me to floss 9 out of 10 days, that is like almost never happened beyond the 2 weeks I'm leading up to when I have a dentist appointment. That's the only time it ever happened in my whole life. Or if I'm on a trip, I pretty much floss every day when I'm traveling. So the whole last year I flossed a shitload because I was gone so much. So, but at home, like when I'm on my own in my own environment, it's typically once or twice a week would be average. That's probably, and so I just had an intuition around, as grateful as I am for that, like that base, that foundation, we're not here to measure ourselves against each other. So if I'm talking about flossing or water, whatever it is, you don't have to measure yourself to my standards. I've grown into these standards. I'm the guy who spent way over 100, like actually somewhere getting close to 200 grand on my personal development. I'm the crazy guy who's been like, goes to week-long things and spends thousands of dollars, and you know, I go to personal development events with Michael Burnoff on my 40th birthday. My grandma asked me about that this past weekend. We had a little family get-together as family in town. She's like, yeah, so did you ever end up doing anything big for your birthday? And I was like, I said no, like through her perspective, it's not a big deal. And I was like, well, it actually was a big deal to me. I hung out with, you know, someone who's a really good acquaintance, someone who's made a big impact in my life, and I got to spend the whole weekend with him, and it was it's the smallest event I've seen, which was awesome. I was so, like, that just worked out awesome. So it's funny how I've been crazy around that stuff, but it's also made me raise standards in all these different areas and learned all these little tricks. I mean, that was a speaking event I was at on my birthday, and I learned stuff about health during that event. That had nothing to do with speaking at all. And in fact, some of that even led to what, you know, some of the regimen I'm on right now and everything. And so it's been really awesome these 10 days. It's definitely not even close to my standard on the business side. As far as my duties to WUKAR as like the CIO and every other hat I wear, I feel good about that, really good. I've kicked serious ass, I've done awesome there. Minus this last 24 hours where I was in a little Jason pity party. And the family, personal development, health, everything, that's been awesome. Health minus big ass knee issue. Taking on new things, Muay Thai, kickboxing. The thing that's suffered the most and been the biggest thing is my whole Manhattan business. And again, this has zero to do with Jeremy. It's literally it's when I just said that, it's not. I don't want anybody to ever think like, oh, that's because you had a partner, and like, dude, it had nothing to do with that. It's because I didn't freaking do the work. I didn't put the effort in. I didn't put the hours in. I didn't create the foundational structures in the spreadsheet, and I didn't go grab all the procedures that everybody had started to put together a few weeks ago and like take out the best parts and like create a master one that everybody could flow off of. All these things, I didn't do any of that stuff. I barely have our freaking server set up to start loading more sites on, and I don't have anything to do with like the company setup. I couldn't, if someone wanted to pay me 100 grand right now, I don't have a freaking, wire ability beyond. I do have wire ability into my, actually I do. I have it into my main LLC, so I guess I could do that. So that's cool, but that's not the end solution I want. I want to multi-layer, like protect the company, like John was explaining. So anyway, guys, the standards I have, they're always so high, and every time I get near or hit them, they just go up again. I learned this back in 2007, that whenever you have a goal, I used to think that was like the end all be all kind of a thing, like the top position in a network marketing company, like whatever their top position would be. And I was aiming for this one level in this company, and I got the level right below it. It was like amazing. The first big win I ever had in network marketing, and first team I grew, like a little over 4,000 people. And I got up to the second to top level in the entire company. There was over 100,000 reps, and I was in like the top 13 people or something. It's actually, I look at that, I'm like, holy shit, that's amazing. Because this is way back when I was starting, first few years. And, but I wanted to get up to the highest level, and there's only like a couple people. What happened, the very top guy, he got enough people up to the level he was at where they had to create a brand new level for him. And all of a sudden, the target that I was like, dude, when I get there, like all the stars align, it's game over. I'll be a movie star, whatever. The guy was actually a movie star. So I was like, yeah, all this stuff will happen. And all of a sudden, this new level opens up. And so it's kind of like you're getting to the top of the mountain, you're getting near the peak. And all of a sudden in the distance, you see this way bigger peak. You're like, dude, this mountain, I thought this was a big deal, but look, there's this big ass peak in the distance. That's the one I got to go get K2 or Everest or whatever those big ass mountains are. And so that's how all of life works. Except life doesn't end with just K2, because there's always bigger and bigger goals and targets and mountains and comfort zones that are always growing. There is no limit to how much you can grow a comfort zone. I don't think there is. I don't know. I guess I think of Trump, he's probably pretty damn comfortable in the majority of situations, but I bet you there's some things that he's never dealt with that he like just ignores, or like has conditioned himself to like, you know, not worry about, like whether it was like a family or a health thing or what. I have no idea, because I don't know the guy that well. So I don't want to like throw out judgments, but I'm saying everybody probably can still grow their comfort zone. It's my hallucination that we can all keep growing forever. And so that's, I am the biggest thing that's just like eating at me, that's just like, dude, I gotta kick ass here, is raising a bar way higher and paving the road much wider and further and more beautiful for everybody in the Tribe of 20. And we're off to a good start for sure. I'm grateful for what we have. I'm grateful we launched the coaching program and everything. But dude, where we're going to be in like in the first, what do we call it? The first milestone. So 4 weeks into it, where we're going to be at the 4-week mark. So like 28 days compared to where we're at today and where we started at. Dude, it's like a night and day difference. I'm really excited for like driving right for that. So anyway, way crazy ass long video. I know almost nobody's gonna live through the whole thing. So if you did, congratulations. So love you guys so much. Thank you for being a part of this journey. Thank you for all the comments and even for all the thoughts and prayers because there's for every person who leaves a comment somewhere, there's like a dozen others who you never even hear from. And then maybe years down the road, they're like, you remember that video you made back 5 years ago? Well, that changed my whole life. And I went out and started this orphanage and we changed the world. You're like, shit, dude, I don't remember the video, but that's pretty awesome. Like that happens all the time. So, and it also happens all the time. You never even hear about the wins and the victories of somebody that had been impacted, and you never find out, but they're just off changing the world. And I'm just passing on stuff that I'm learning from the other, people that I'm standing on the shoulders of giants, so to say. So anyway, love you guys so much, especially after this huge rant after today's video. My rant of passionate outpouring of inspiration and love, gratitude, everything. So love you guys. We will see you guys tomorrow.